Hello, everyone. It's Lindsay Landry, intuitive and spiritual business mentor. And today I'm going to be having a conversation with Jeanne. And our intention for this is we really want to tell you about Reiki and how it can impact you personally and impact your health and also impact your business. And so I invited Jeanne today to have this conversation with me and just to tell you a little bit about how this healing tool has helped her personally and professionally, and also how it's been helping her clients. So welcome. I'm so excited to have you with us.
I am so happy to be here with you, Lindsay. This has been an interesting and amazing journey in the last, almost year for me. And it started a few months before you and I met. And I started with writing a book about menopause. I'm Jeanne Andrus, the menopause guru, and I work with women to help them with their transition through midlife, both physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. So I'm a wellness coach, really. And I start with how things are happening physically and working strictly with women in menopause. So I had started by writing a book that came out last November, just about the time we met.
Mm-hmm.
This book now, and it's now in print, it's called I Just Want to Be Me Again. And as I was writing it, I felt drawn to look at more energy work with my clients. I've been moving in a lot of directions with my clients. I use my background as a personal trainer, my nutrition training, my stress management training. And then I became a health coach, sort of combining all of that. And then the energy work just seemed to be a natural outpouring of that. So that was when we met last November over your Reiki 1 class.
Definitely. And I just resonate so much with the work you do because, for me too, it's like the way that I even found energy work and was led to it was basically, my battle with hormones as a young, I started struggling with my hormones when I was 13 years old and, just going to doctor after doctor and trying diet after diet and not finding solutions. So do you find that's kind of wasn't that one of the things that too, you've been working with, it happened for yourself, but also your clients where they're doing all the diets, they're, doing all the right things, but something's deeper, maybe needs some tending or attention. Do you find that with your clients?
One of the things that I find so much with my clients is that they're moving from being wives, mothers, workers, career women, and they put all of that together, and all of a sudden things start changing. And it starts in the physical realm because that's what we're sort of programmed to do. And as that starts happening, it opens up an opportunity for us mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, but we're not prepared for that. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes we're dealing with old patterns and habits that come along with it and old traumas. So that's what I find with my clients hugely, is that the energy work is there to help them understand and move forward through those various traumas and changes. And it doesn't even have to be that traumatic. It just has to be this shift of energy that allows us to move forward in our lives from this very wonderful cyclic life that we've been living as mothers, as reproductive women, women in our reproductive years, to sort of a different energy that comes with being menopausal or postmenopausal.
Definitely. And I can think of my mom as an example, even just sending my sister to college and having her move out of the house. It's is that some of the transition and the emotional change, because like she went from like actually having my sister in the house and taking care of her to like, oh my God, does she still need me? Does she still, like, what do I do now that I don't have to take care of this human being? Like, who am I?
And the interesting thing is, it's not just that we're being pushed that way by the fact that we are no longer the mom, but we're also, our bodies are telling us we're beyond that. And so what happens, and why one of the reasons that I think older women are such an amazing force and really kind of scary, is that we, as women postmenopausally, we start with a more straight line thinking, a more linear pattern to our lives, but we still remember and understand the cyclic nature. So we embody the masculine and the feminine much more fully, and so we're very, very powerful. We have this ability to understand both sides of the coin, almost. And it's scary because we haven't done that before. So one of the things that I love about the work I do is I get to help women understand all of that and put it together.
Yeah, that is amazing. And it's so powerful and so needed. So I'd love to for you to talk a little bit about, so when you entered the Reiki 1 program, you were at this place of knowing that you wanted to start bridging some of those deeper gaps, and you wanted the tools to be able to do that. So I know after you got attuned to level 1, what are some of the ways? I know you weren't necessarily using Reiki directly with your clients, but what are some of the changes and notices that you started noticing as you started playing around with it for yourself and your clients?
Interestingly enough, I started very early on sort of opening up my own channels when I was talking with someone. And even though Reiki 1 is really so much about the physical side, what I found was that as I opened up to that energy in a conversation with a client or even a potential client, I was able to hear and listen at so much deeper a level. I was aware of undercurrents that they were putting out. And I found myself being much more able to ask the questions and direct the conversations that we had into areas that really, really, really made a difference for them. So even though, it wasn't the emotional attunements and the distance attunements, just opening that energy up in myself just allowed me to understand more what they were feeling. And this was sort of I had done some work with chakra work before coming into Reiki. And so I was more able to allow that Reiki energy up and down my own chakra path. And it almost resonate with what was going on with some of my clients. So early on, it was an amazing change in the way I was able to have those conversations with people.
That's beautiful. And so did you notice, did this start impacting the results they were getting in your coaching? Whether were they able to move through, if it was those old wounds or an emotional story or even physical things, did you start to notice any shifts with the way that they were able to move through it or heal from it?
Somewhat. I think because those first couple of clients that I worked with prior to the Reiki level 2 attunements that we did later on, I found that it was the ability of my coaching, the deepness of my coaching and the way that I was able to allow Reiki to come through my coaching that really made some shifts for those early on clients. Whereas now I actually, all of my clients get a little Reiki energy on at least a weekly basis, because many mornings when I'm doing my own meditation, my own Reiki for myself, I just sort of open it up and send it out and kind of figure out where various of my clients might be and see what, sort of check in with them with that attunement. But I think the early on ones were it was more directly through me and the changes that were happening in me that were making those changes. So that was kind of cool. But I knew it was the Reiki energy that was doing it, if that makes any sense. That it was being channeled through me more than it was being directly.
Definitely. And that's still so powerful, because it's like when you can get to the roots of like whatever's going on, it's like that saves so much time. You know,
absolutely.
Like something that might take 2 or 3 sessions, when you can like get in there and see it right away, then it opens that space for the journey to really begin on a whole new level.
Exactly.
I love that. And so tell us a little bit about, like, I know you know, since we did the level 2 class, like you've been using it and exploring it even more with your clients and doing all these exciting and fun things. So tell us a little bit about like some of this new stuff that you're doing.
As I've been working with women, I created something that I call a somatic conversation, which so many of us have these things going on in our body, and they're symptoms of menopause, but they're also symptoms of just how we deal with life or something that's gone on in our past.
Do you want to give us a couple of examples, like some of the physical examples of what those things might look like?
So I'll just pull one from my own experience, and this is sort of how I got into this whole coaching thing way back when, almost 8 years ago now. But I was working in a corporate job as a computer analyst, and I started getting really dry skin and really itchy skin. And at the same time, I was also having enormous bouts of restless leg syndrome. And so I was itching and I was restless. And all I could think of was, I'm itching. And finally it came to me that I was itching to get out. And I really needed, and I was restless, and I needed a change. So that was sort of the change that pushed me into quitting my corporate job and becoming a personal trainer and eventually a coach. Another example that I have had recently was I was talking to a woman who had a yeast infection. She didn't actually use the word infection. She said she was being invaded by yeast. And so we started playing with this, and I actually did one of these somatic conversations with her. And what she realized was that she didn't have a real good set of boundaries. She had no real third chakra, solar plexus chakra. She didn't have power. She didn't feel like she had the power to act. She didn't feel like she had the power to keep other things away from her. As we talked, we found out that she had a couple of medical issues as a child that were actually invasions of her personal space. And she never felt like she had the strength or the right to resist those invasions. So what we wound up doing was creating a program where she started rebuilding that power center, that set of boundaries that she needed in order to feel like she could act going forward. So her yeast, her outside invader, was just so symptomatic of this thing that had been going on in her life all along.
I love that. That is so amazing. And so how did she respond? Like, how did she respond from that session? How was she feeling after?
I caught up with her on Facebook the other day, and interestingly enough, the weekend prior to our conversation, she had gone to the beach. She lives out on the West Coast, and she had gone to the beach, and there was a lot of wind, and she said, I kept getting stung all over by this sand that was being blown by the wind, and I felt like I was being pummeled from outside. And neither my friend nor I thought to get up and walk behind the dunes where the wind wasn't. And so she had gone 2 weeks after we had our session. She had gone back out to the beach, and I caught up with her while she was out there, and she was chatting from Facebook. And she said, oh, it's a perfect day out here, and I am just loving it. So she has really, really changed. Obviously, when you're talking about some of these physical symptoms, there's sometimes you have to actually go and deal with whatever medicine, modern Western medicine wants you to do for that. But it's also a matter of figuring out what the problem is. And if you hear the message of your body, this is what I keep telling people, is if you hear the message of your body doesn't have to tell you anymore. So that when you treat that symptom or that disease, it can go away. You don't need it anymore.
I love that. And that's actually one of the things that, that's one of the reasons I think I fell in love with energy work, just because like at Kripalu, they used to say something, how you do yoga, you do everything. And it's so true, because so when we look at one aspect, like even your example of like your skin was itching and like your legs were restless, and then you started to realize like, oh, that's because I'm restless at my job. Mm-hmm. And then so like the same thing for her, she felt like she had this invasion of yeast, and then she's sitting at the beach and she feels like it's like attacking her or invading her, like the sand. And then once you can shift that energy, so like as you gave her power back, and I mean, we don't even know the big pictures of how she feels in her relationships or all these different areas of her life where she might feel that same core feeling, just like how you had felt the itching around your job. But when we can shift the energy, all of these, it's not just taking a pill to heal the skin. It's like all of these patterns can start to shift because you change that core power energy.
Right. And for her, that energy was really holding her back. She too is an entrepreneur, and she works as a sexuality coach. And she said, I know all these people, and their message is getting out there and they're being heard, and nobody seems to be hearing me or allowing me to do anything. And her whole attitude, her whole approach to her business has changed within just a few weeks. And she's really feeling like now she has the right to actually be out there and be competing with these I don't want to use the word competing, because with coaching, there are so many people who need coaching. I tell people when they say,
I feel like it's almost interesting that that's the word that came out, because I think it's like it goes with the energy a little bit, where she might have felt before like it's competing, and so she felt like her space was being invaded, or she was being pushed, or she was being like feeling. So it's interesting that that's the word that like came out, even though
right.
And so it's amazing how so you shifted that energy even just around one simple thing, and then it starts to ripple out to all those areas that energy was really affecting.
Exactly.
Love it.
So that's what I do with the somatic conversation. We actually talk with your body and see what the symptoms really mean. We talk. It's a guided meditation almost. And it's been really, really effective with the women I've done it with.
That's amazing. It reminds me of in my early 20s, like I had ongoing yeast issues too, and even parasites. And like I was doing cleanse after cleanse after cleanse, and like I couldn't get rid of this yeast. And this was when I was starting to like dabble with energy work and like explore it and try to learn more about it and all these different things. And I had all these friends that like, they would message me and they're like, oh, can I ask you a nutrition question? Like, oh, and finally one day it like totally clicked. It's like, I'm tired of people like using my energy and taking from me. And as soon as like it clicked, all of my yeast issues started going away.
But you're right. You know exactly what I mean then. You still have to go ahead and take the pill, the diflucan, or whatever you need to take to get it to go away. And you need to maybe clean up your diet. You need to do the physical stuff. But until you get the emotional stuff, it's just going to keep coming back.
Yeah, I love it. And so, is there any like results that you've noticed personally? So like as you have allowed yourself, and I know this is something through the Reiki program we've talked about, but like really allowing yourself to step into your own intuition, because you've always been super intuitive and like even just like imaginative, like writing and all these stories and having all these ideas. And so what has like really as you've like taken the Reiki journey and allowed yourself to start opening to the gifts that like you've always known you kind of had, but maybe kept in the corner, like what has that done for you? Like how has it changed things?
Well, I think there's a lot of things that have shifted, have changed for me through this whole process. And part of it is that I've always gotten the majority of my praises, whatever. I'm not even sure what the right word is. My rewards, my awards, my internal gratification from being a head case. I used to do computer work, and I did a lot of really, really good stuff, and I'm good at it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good at it. But I've always had this being drawn to helping people and figuring out how to help people through their problems. And I always thought when I was a kid, when I was younger, that was through working with children. And part of what I learned over the years was that I really, really did have a draw towards this population of women who are in, I hate to say it, women in transition, but it's not that, it's a specific transition, women who are dealing with menopause. And I felt drawn to that population, and I felt like I knew how to help them, but that it was all still so much head knowledge. And even my books are pretty, they combine the head knowledge and the heart knowledge. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I really got into the heart knowledge and pulled that together from Reiki and allowed myself to open up to that intuition and to the healer that I am, that allowed me to become a coach that really can pull both sides together. Mm. And that's been hugely important for me. It's been hugely important for the women I work with. It's what allows me to get the kinds of results that I get. And when I work with weight loss, I know how to get a person to start losing weight. But more importantly, I get them to understand why. I get them to connect with their hearts and become the person that they want to be through the process of learning to love themselves again. Because so many women who are struggling with weight aren't willing to let themselves love themselves until they lose the weight. Mm-hmm. It's really backwards because they need to love themselves whether or not the weight's there or not.
I love that. And like, have you noticed, like, as you've started to, I guess, embody the Reiki energy, like, how has that affected your writing?
And this is funny, it's funny you say that, because there's days when I'll forget that I'm a Reiki practitioner. I'm still new at this. And I'll forget that I just really, if I just sit down and open up that energy channel to the people I want to help, that it'll make everything just go that much easier and that much faster. So there's still days when writing is like pulling teeth, and it's because I forget to open up to that connection that I have. It's just, and I could do that before. I have a really, really good publisher who helps us do that through visualization. But what I find is that if I open up the Reiki channels and I spend 5 minutes in meditation, I'm just there. I don't have to go, it doesn't have to be a long, complicated process. I'm just right there in the intuitive space where I need to be. And so my writing is more fun. It's more efficient. I have more time in my day to help the people I'm helping as well as write. It's really great.
I love that you add the time piece in there because
excuse me just a second. All right, should have turned that quiet before we started.
No, I think it's a confirmation, like, yeah, address that time piece. I love that you added that in there because so many people that I've been talking to, like, they're worried about, they might already have issues with, like, their mom, they have a business, they have a husband, and, like, how to manage everything and how do you show up and, be everything. And so I love that you added in there that, the Reiki has actually giving you the space to be more efficient at the writing part, at your work, but like even have more energy to be able to give to the people around you.
I think for me, it has opened up a lot of spaces that were blocked as well. I just struggled with a few things in my life, and those are intensely personal, and they're not going to come out here. Mm-hmm. But some of these intense struggles have been opened up by the Reiki energy, and I've started to heal my own issues and my own spaces, and that's freed up all of that energy that was blocked there. As you go into, we don't even realize sometimes how much energy we use to suppress the things that we don't want to think about. And by opening up all of these channels, things are going to shift, things are going to move, and you have to deal with them. Yeah. You can't go without doing something about them. So when you do that, there's all this additional energy that opens up and says, oh, here I am. You want to, you want to clean the house? Okay, we got energy for that. You want to go for a run? We got energy for that. And so the energy that was being blocked and was being used to push these things down and out to the side, it's available, and it's amazing. You spend a lot more time in Einstein time.
Yes.
Do you want me to explain Einstein time? Or do you think the people who are watching this know?
No, you can explain it.
Okay, Einstein said that time is totally fluid. Mm-hmm. And he said, for example, the time that you spend in a lecture hall with a totally boring professor, or the time it is totally different. That just seems to stretch for hours and hours and hours. But if you spend the same amount of time with your best friend, the time just flies by. And so his concept of time was very fluid in terms of how we perceive it. And the way that works in the world and you can use to manipulate it is that you can actually stretch and collapse time a bit to your own advantage. Now, if you're telling somebody you're going to be there for an hour, then you're sort of there for an hour. But it's really interesting how time even changes for you when you're able to tap into these energy sources.
That's so funny. A couple weeks ago, I was playing around with this. And so I was going on a walk, and I was like, it would be great. I needed more time because I had a busy day. And so I was like, So FYI, people, this could happen too. I wanted to manifest more time. So there was 2 dogs, like I'm walking the dog on my walk, and then 2 stray dogs show up, and they're like, when you have 2 dogs and they're like, then follow you. And so I was like, okay, I'm going home. So I ended up manipulating the time, but I manifested it, and I didn't get my whole walk.
It's amazing what you start manifesting once you start playing with this energy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I'm so grateful that you were available to have this conversation today. And
it's been a fun conversation.
It is. And I feel like you have so much to offer. Do you want to share the latest thing that you're up to, just for anybody that might be interested in connecting with you and your work?
Well, right now I'm offering, just over the next 3 weeks, the end of the last 3 weeks of July, I'm offering a series of hangouts, and we had the first one last night. Each one has a topic so that we kind of talk about that. And there's a chance for you to get any information about how menopause is affecting your body, your mind, whatever. We're going to be talking about hot flashes next week on Tuesday. And if you go to my site, which is menopause.guru, menopause.guru, you'll be able to sign up for the hangouts. And you can come to one, you can come to all. I'm sending out recordings afterwards. And that's what I'm doing. I'm also in the middle of writing book 3, which has the working title of Chill Out, a guide to flashes and other annoying symptoms for menopausal women. And that'll be out on September 1st. My book's available on Amazon.
That's what I was going to ask. Where can they get your books?
Right now, the download is available on Amazon. This is the proof copy of I Just Want to Be Me Again, which I received earlier this week. And the paperback books will be available within about a week off of Amazon. So I'm so excited to see that.
Yay.
And those will be available, and soon, hopefully, in bookstores everywhere. There's something in the works to see it. Hopefully, they'll be out in a few months.
Yeah, and I'm going to also put the information in the comments, so like the YouTube comments, so that if anybody, needs to reference it, you can just look in the comment of this video, and the information will be there for you to access her website, sign up for the Hangout series, and also the information on where you can get her book if you're interested.
Lindsay, it's been a pleasure talking with you today, and I've just really enjoyed our conversation, and I'm looking forward to the next time we get together, which I don't know when it'll be.
I know, we need to do our retreat like we keep saying we're going to do.
Yeah.
So yes, thank you so much again. And for anyone watching, if you are interested in learning more about Reiki and how you can use it in your business, I am teaching a class. It's starting July 18th. And so you can go to my website, lindsaylandry.com. That's LYNSEYLANDRY.com. And you can find out more information there about the Reiki program coming up. And I'll also put that in the comments. So thank you everyone for watching, and thank you again for being here with us today and sharing all of your wisdom. Sending you all so much love.